Tonight on the show, we are speaking with two guests who quietly dedicate their time, hearts and home to caring for our wildlife. They are volunteers for Hunter Wildlife Rescue. Debbie Breen, the Senior Koala Coordinator, has been caring for koalas and wombats for over 30 years, and Alexis Ting, who compiles data and coordinates rescues and has been volunteering for over 5 years. Welcome to the Citizen Science Show podcast, Debbie Breen and Alexis Ting.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thanks so much for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Alexis, can you share your story of how you found your way to Hunter Wildlife Rescue and why?
I've always had a passion for animals since a very young age, but I also have a disability myself, so I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I guess through learning to live with pain myself, I wanted to be able to give back to others that couldn't help themselves. And I found myself looking for a wildlife group. And I came across our local group, which is Hunter Wildlife Rescue, and they took me with open arms. And I was lucky enough to have our past president, Audrey Koosman, as my mentor, and she really took me under her wing and saw my passion and almost stubborn dedication. And I started with brushtails and gliders and ringtail possums. And through that, just a lot of on-hand experience raising many, many babies. And then I guess through spending so much time with Audrey, she started sharing her koala passion. And in the last few years, the koala rescues really ramped up for Hunter Wildlife Rescue in a concerning manner. And yeah, so I guess Audrey started passing that baton over to me a little bit, knowing that she was getting sicker. And Debbie took me under her wing as well and has been an amazing mentor. So the passions, really turned into now my whole life.
And Debbie, how did your journey start with Hunter Wildlife Rescue?
I started with Hunter Wildlife Rescue many years ago, probably over 20 years ago, then moved on to become a sanctuary manager of wild endangered species. Having Audrey as a great friend for many years, she asked me back to Hunter Wildlife and Native Animal Trust Fund, which it's called, to help with the wombats and the koalas because they were being inundated. Yeah, I've been back for quite a number of years and helping Audrey care for the koalas and also the many other animals that we rescue, wombats and macropods.
Where did your passion start for our wildlife?
Probably with birds initially because we'd always find the injured bird, and as you do, you try and mend it yourself if it's got a broken wing. So I started doing all that and managing to save and rescue and release quite a few little birds, and then moved on to small mammals and probably just about anything that moved was able to try and help and save. And then trying to gain more experience, I would go to different courses and join up the wildlife groups and learn quite a bit and moved gradually on.
You've had a long journey with Hunter Wildlife Rescue or the Native Animal Trust Fund. So over 30 years for yourself. How long has Hunter Wildlife Rescue been operating and what region does it cover?
Audrey started the Hunter Wildlife, so she was the founding coordinator, founding member of Hunter Wildlife over 36 years ago.
That's a long time in the region. So what's the reach of your services?
It's vast now. We used to be just Lower Hunter and Upper Hunter, but now we're going out to the far reaches of way past Singleton, Scone, Muswellbrook, Newcastle, just bordering the Central Coast, and it's a much bigger area now, which is it's taking its toll on the amount of animals that are coming in.
Oh, I can imagine. And do you work closely with other wildlife rescue organisations? I know in New South Wales we hear of WIRES. How does it work with you?
So we're our own group, but WIRES does help man our phones. So at the moment when you call our number, WIRES answers and then they will divert the call to us via an app. So they're helping through that, but all our funding and everything is done through our own group. And then we've got two wonderful groups either side. We've got WIRES Central Coast, Fauna, and is ARC?
Wildlife ARC.
Yeah.
So we coordinate animals through the different groups, and if we require buddies or they come from a bordering area, we'll we'll sort of swap and change. So we do communicate. I know I do communicate quite a lot with the different groups, even some of the groups down south when they're overloaded with animals.
Oh, that's great. Can you tell us a little bit about the Black Summer Fires and your involvement with that horrendous event in Australia?
Yeah, it gives me chills even thinking about that.
Yeah, I've got goosebumps too.
Yeah, it was being a wildlife rehabilitator and being in the fire brigade just doesn't gel very well, because you're constantly thinking about the animals and the fight with the fires. I'm quite happy to go out and fight the fires, to put them out, to prevent them travelling any further, and always on the lookout and trying to save any animals. But I had a lot of trouble with backburns, and knowing that the way we backburn in New South Wales, I know that a lot of the fires that we're involved with, they do get away no matter how much you try and stop them. So I had great difficulty with that, because I knew animals were trapped. I could hear animals screaming, and I'll never forget the sounds. And areas we couldn't go in because the fire was too ferocious, with the Gospers fire coming along. I knew up on the ridge, watching it just go across the ridge so fast with the high winds, that the koalas were just being wiped out, because we'd been on that ridge months before, and knowing that the koalas were there and not finding any bodies. Everything was just incinerated. Yeah, it was hard. It was 6 solid weeks of just a lot of trauma.
Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking. Was Hunter Wildlife Rescue overwhelmed with injured animals at that time?
From the Gospers fires, or the 3 big fires, Little L and Lola Fire coming in, there weren't a great deal of animals that survived. There was one koala I got 7 months later after the fires that had pads on her feet, had repaired. But it was mainly the smaller fires that had gone through, mainly in the Hunter area, where they went in and retrieved some animals that were burnt. But that big fire, there was really nothing left, and any macropods or kangaroos that managed to get out of the way, they did flee quite abruptly.
Do you have any idea of how many animals Hunter Wildlife Rescue has rescued since its beginning?
It's a huge number. I haven't seen the figures recently.
Or maybe tell us what type of animals you're rescuing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we range from all different species of native birds, even native rodents. Got lots of beautiful little marsupials that people might just even think a little house mouse, but they're little native animals. We've got a beautiful glider population. We've got lots of beautiful little feather tails, sugar gliders, squirrel gliders. They are vulnerable though. We do have some yellow bellies and greater gliders out in the Hunter further out. And we've got our beautiful flying foxes, possums, reptiles, turtles. So we cover all species. Sea turtles, the only animals we don't cover are whales and sharks, and dolphin rescues. Orca does those rescues.
Okay.
But everything on land is pretty much, we get called to rescue, and we have our phones on 24/7.
And seabirds.
Seabirds, yeah, I can get that call anytime, day or night, to go out. And then the majority of the care is done in our own homes. So
Wow.
we do have a wetlands centre where it's our training hub, or if we do have an emergency event, we can use that. But most of the care is just done in our own homes. And we're waking up and feeding baby possums and baby kangaroos every 4 hours through the night. We have to toilet them. The little ones, little wombats and things, need so much love and attention. And then really it's then teaching them, trying to break that bond a little bit, I guess, which can be the hard part. Our main goal is to get everything back to the wild, so they're not our pets. We're not able just to keep them, as much as sometimes we might fall in love with them. It is such a joy being able to see them released. And I had this beautiful brushtail. I had him for many months, and we released him last December, and it was one of those really hard bonds to break because I put so much into this little boy. And where he was released, we have some cameras and some people kind of looking out for him, and they did spot him last week and sent me a picture.
That's great.
And I think that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
All those months I put in with him, from holding him that first day we got him and thinking he's not going to survive, and the sleepless nights, to see him now living out and surviving in the wild, that's what makes it so important. And I guess animals already have so many things going against them just in nature. I guess that's what makes it so hard when when other things start impacting on them, like development, or roads, or even human cruelty.
I mean, that's a beautiful story. That must be the reward for your dedication, is to be able to re-release them. What would you say are the biggest challenges to our wildlife?
For our little animals, for our possums and birds, I would say cat attacks and dog attacks are pretty huge. But for our koala, definitely development, massive land clearings, and road collisions are what's really impacting them the most.
Debbie, you've been with Hunter Wildlife for a while now, Hunter Wildlife Rescue. How many volunteers have you got, and what support do they get in terms of training and even that support for the trauma that they're exposed to?
The volunteers come and go, and it's not for the faint-hearted, I wouldn't say, because some of the rescues that people go out on are quite traumatic, and dealing with a kangaroo with 2 broken legs is difficult for most people. So when you send we try not to send a new inexperienced person out, but when you're so overrun with road victims, it's really hard not to send someone out that hasn't been only with the group for 6 months. So we do have welfare. I think it's a welfare support group that's in place, and I'm not sure how many people reach out to it. But PTSD is sort of high up there with carers that have been in for a long time. But I know people that have gone out on a rescue, and it was just so traumatic they never came back again.
How much training have they got before they go out in the field?
Usually we do an intro course to start, and that will be a day course where you cover all the bits of a basic rescue.
Okay.
But we always try and buddy you up. So you have a buddy to try and train you and go along with you, someone you can call to ask for advice and questions. But no matter how much you prepare, sometimes you are just faced with really heartbreaking situations. I guess I am mainly mammals, but I helped out with the poison corellas in Carrington earlier this year, and I was there that first day, and I wasn't prepared for that, for the amount of dying and crying, screaming, dying animals around me that day.
Was that hundreds of birds? I remember it hit the media, hundreds of corellas.
It was hundreds. Yeah, it was hundreds of corellas, and they were dropping from the sky. At one point, I think I had nearly 60 birds in my car trying to get to the vet, because every time I started to drive off, there would be another one fall down beside my car. So that was really hard, but we got through it. The community really did rally behind us with that, which was huge. We had people coming out and giving us water, or just checking that we were okay.
How many carers did you have taking in the birds at that time?
For that particular event, we had to keep it quite isolated because we didn't know what had caused it.
Okay.
So we had 2 houses that they went to, and they had over 80 birds.
Wow.
Each. But we got about hundreds of birds, which we were medicating. So we would go to her house, and we'd have to wear protective PE, and it was scary because we didn't know what had happened to them, but it was confirmed that it was a pesticide, most likely deliberate for that. I mean, that's another hard thing too. Yeah.
No, that's horrible to think people are deliberately poisoning and killing our wildlife.
Yeah, hundreds.
Yeah.
Too many unprecedented events happening.
Oh, my goodness. So how many carers have we got active in your group now in the Hunter? We're talking dozens, or have you got hundreds of carers?
I don't know the exact number, but there'd probably be a couple of hundred financial members at least. But as in active carers, How many do you think,
About
Debbie?
30 maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're completely run by volunteers and you rely on donations. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Can you take me through a typical day of a wildlife carer? What does it look like? What's involved? How about you, Debbie? Talk about your wombats.
Yes, depending on how many babies you have. If you've got, 6 to 12 babies, then you're feeding every 4 hours. So your day's quite long. It goes right into the night. So you'll be feeding first thing in the morning. You'll get up. If you've got different stages, different ages, then you're looking at cleaning out pens and boxes and cages. So that continues throughout the day. Then the afternoon's quite busy with the other preparations, especially with wombats. You're picking grass, which is a long, tedious task when you've got so many. Or if you've got koalas, you're out getting browse every day. So you're going from bottle feeding to out foraging around for the appropriate foliage and that for possums, and the appropriate browse for koalas, and the appropriate grass for wombats. So you're always searching. You're driving all the time looking.
And browse is wildlife talk for leaves.
Leaves, yeah.
I thought that's what you meant when you're saying you've got to go daily for eucalyptus. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you've got little ones, you've got to time wherever you go to get back in time to feed the babies. So it's just constant.
It really is like having a newborn. A baby possum will cry when they're hungry. You have to toilet them, you're feeding them, you're making sure they don't get bloat. And I guess, we're having to source a lot of native food.
Injured animals are quite taxing on your emotions, I think, especially if they're badly injured. So you're cleaning wounds or you're tending to medication, so they take up a lot of your time. So you're continually monitoring them. And if you've got babies in between that, then your day's fairly full.
But we do work alongside our amazing vets.
Oh, that's great.
So we wouldn't be able to do it without them. So all our animals do go to the vet for checks, and I guess they train us on what we need to be doing at home to continue care for the animals. We work a lot with Summersby Animal Hospital, but there's some also amazing vets here around Newcastle who dedicate a lot of their time, and a lot do it. Some do it for a subsidy, and some may even do it free of charge, depending on the clinic. So they're donating a lot of their time as well to help us. So it is a collaboration between them and us.
I want to talk more about the involvement of vets in a little while, but before that, can you explain what happens when I'm driving along the road and I see an animal's been struck by a car and it's still alive on the side of the road, and I think, well, I need to ring Hunter Wildlife Rescue. What happens once I make that phone call? What are the next steps?
Sure. Well, do you want a number?
Please, share your number.
You would call 0418 628 483. Wires would answer, and you would let them know where you've seen the animal, what's happened, try and give them as an exact location as possible. Some people might stay there until a rescuer arrives. If you can't, some might try and tie a plastic bag or a shopping bag to the tree nearby just to make it as obvious as possible that that's where the animal is. And then that call would come out to the group. We have an app, so it goes off on our phones. And then we accept that if we're close to that rescue. And then we would come out and help the animal and get it to the vet. If it's safe to do so, say you've come across a small bird or something, you're welcome to safely contain it and take it to a local vet. If it's a possum or something, say you've come across a brush-tailed possum in your backyard and maybe it's eaten some poison, some rat bait, but you're a little bit scared to touch it because they can bite, even putting something over the top of it, like a washing basket and something heavy, then you call us.
Okay.
Just so it's kept in that spot. So there's things you can do to help us too, but definitely the main thing is calling us. And even if that animal is already deceased, if you've come across marsupial on the side of the road, calling us so we can come and check the pouch And if you're out driving along the roads and you've noticed spray paint on a deceased animal, sometimes it's
like a cross. Yep.
a big cross. Yeah, that's usually a signal from our wildlife carers to one another to say, I've checked that pouch.
Okay.
So if it doesn't have a cross on it, that means no one's probably been out to that one yet. And to definitely give us a call, because especially at the moment, it's baby season. So nearly everything that has a pouch has a baby in it.
Okay.
And we really can save a lot of those babies.
How long can a baby survive in a pouch?
It would depend on what had happened.
Okay.
Yeah, how hot it is.
Okay.
But I guess we've had some 24 hours. It's not a good rescue, but we still might be able to save it.
And what happens if the wildlife carer, you're the first responders, you go out there, you've had the call, and it's a large male kangaroo with broken legs, obviously so severely injured, it's unlikely to survive rehabilitation. You can't physically lift it to get it to the vets, but it's still alive in pain. What happens?
We have a relationship with the police. We also have some shooters in our group.
Right.
And so if we can sedate the animal a little bit. Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes we do have to make that call that if it's safe to do so, that animal will be humanely shot, which is hard. The first time I saw that, is hard. I'd never heard a gun go off.
I tend to, if I get a call like that, if someone's there, I always ask them to put something over the kangaroo's head or face, and it calms them down. It's amazing how even a wombat that's got a broken back or something that's on the side of the road, if you put something over their face and just calm it down and remain calm around them, then they stop thrashing.
Yeah,
which helps the whole situation. And then you just wait for help
at the same time with a box of tissues. I can imagine.
Yes,
So upsetting.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a big part of rescue people don't understand, is a lot of the time it is us helping an animal to either be taken to the vet to be euthanized or staying with it in its final moments, and which is absolutely heartbreaking. But yeah, we don't want it to be in pain. They're in so much pain.
They're in so much pain.
Yeah, it's amazing work that you do. And I feel like the government relies on organisations such as yourself to care for our wildlife. We do have parks and wildlife, but they're so under-resourced and busy out there looking after the national parks and everything that goes with it. Do you see an opportunity in the future where you might become affiliated somehow with national parks and maybe receive some funding for this type of rescue work?
We do work alongside national parks, but I think, the funding aspect's tricky.
National parks used to support us a great deal, especially probably 20 years ago, but they've now sort of moved out more into the maintaining all the national parks and those areas, and it's the Department of Primary Industry that funds some of our veterinary lines. But national parks they do their license, the governing body for our license, but instead of like they used to pay some of the bills and help with some funding, they've moved away from that quite a lot.
I think that's because they also don't have the resources themselves. They do what they can, and we do have good relationships with them. But sadly, a lot, for example, all the food, all the milk supplements and food and cleaning products and petrol is all out of our own pockets.
Really?
Yeah.
So if people make a donation to Hunter Wildlife Rescue, are you able to get reimbursement from the organisation for those costs?
Usually a lot of that money goes towards vet bills.
Wow. You're not just dedicating your time and your homes and your hearts, you're dedicating your money.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I could have brought another property and that wouldn't be lying with the amount of money I've spent on animals, definitely.
How many animals do you have in care right now, Debbie?
I've gone from 7 wombats, a koala, 8 possums, and then the domestic animals that I have, and then the injured animals that come in, but they're sort of the longer term ones. I'm just in the process of releasing 2 wombats, which will leave me now with 6. My last possum is just ready to be released, and the koala, she's moved on, and just waiting for the next ones to come in. I have been asked to take on more baby wombats, but I'm just trying to have a bit of a break because things like your shoulder and your back and your knees takes its toll physically.
You're sacrificing your bodies as well.
Yeah, physically.
This is intense. I don't think people understand the true role of a carer.
Yeah.
The actual requirements of a carer.
Oh, it's cute and cuddly.
I think we like to see the romantic notion of, I've got little Joey in a pouch and it's cute and cuddly and I'm feeding it and then I let it go in the wild. But in actual fact, that's probably the last 5% of the work that's involved.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And we're doing the rescues as well. It's not we just at home and someone drops us an animal to care for. We're out doing the rescues. And I mean, there was a koala rescue last year. I had quite a lot in care already. That rescue, I got the call about 10 p.m. at night. I travelled and got there about 10:30 and I got home at 4 a.m. And I'd been able to rescue Mum and Bub, but it had been a pretty massive organisation, a pretty massive rescue operation, sorry. And then you've got to go about your day. I think I had.
Tell us about that rescue mission.
That was really tricky. It was a Mum and Bub, but they'd been clipped by a car. Do you know the old oak at Freeman's Waterhole, Freeman's Drive?
Okay, yeah.
She'd got up there, but where they were was a very precarious tree. So we needed the help of the fire brigade for that particular rescue. Wow. And we needed to go through the motions of different fire trucks before we got the big cherry picker fire truck.
This is at midnight, 1, 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we went up in the cherry picker with them and got her and her Joey down from the tree, and they actually really did need help. They're still in care, so that was about 7 months ago now, but they're doing really well. But yeah, really, really hard, emotional. I think there were 4 of us who were able to make it out that night and spent the night getting her, and then, she went down to Summersby Animal Hospital.
Okay. While we're on the subject of koalas, you're both heavily involved. Debbie, you're the Senior Koala Rescue Coordinator for the Hunter region. What's been happening this season?
This season is been tricky because we are trying to avert the road accidents, if you like, and the vehicle strikes by trying to get the word out there that a lot of the koalas, it's breeding season. So we're trying to get the word out there. I know with the Buckety community have been alerting them, and I know Lexi's done a lot of work up in her end that they are out and about. So people are sighting them due to the numbers being so high last year. We're trying to avert that happening again. So retrieving and trying to go out as soon as we can.
Okay.
Even retrieving the dead ones. I know it's a terrible task, but Lexi does a great job up there, and we get them to the vet so they can be swabbed.
How long does the breeding season last?
With the signage that goes out, hopefully this year, the breeding season of this year won't be as bad as what it was the last couple of years. From now, September, right through to December, January.
Okay. And is it mainly the males that are on the walk, so to speak? What do they say? Bachelor boys are on the move?
Yeah. The males and the younger males are pushed out, obviously, by the bigger males. So the younger ones tend to get into bother. They might not be out looking for a mate, but the larger male or the older male will push them out of the colony. So they're the ones that you'll find end up in all sorts of precarious situations. So,
but last year we had just such an increase of those rescues. Last year we had 40 calls to help koalas, and that was 3 times more than it was like the 3 years combined added up to that. So it was this huge increase, and I guess what we could obviously see was how much clearing we'd had around the Hunter last year. Visually, we can see that driving around. So koalas were having to travel longer and across bigger roads to try and find mates, putting them in more danger. And unfortunately, that trend's continued this year. We've already done 20 calls, and 12 of those have unfortunately been vehicle strikes. 10 of those have died, and the rest were unsuitable environment. Wow. So that means they were in someone's backyard, and that puts them in risk of dog attacks and other dangers that they can face. So it's really devastating. And I think the other fact that I want people to be really aware is with all the koalas I collect, all the dead bodies and the ones that come into care, and when they're gassed down being assessed by a vet, we do chlamydia swabs, and all of them from our Newcastle areas, bar a couple that were from Buckety, but all the ones from our local Newcastle area have returned negative chlamydia results. Mm-hmm. And so that means we have a healthy colony here. a really healthy colony. And with Ryan Witt's data from the University of Newcastle, he did this big drone study around Mount Sugarloaf that showed an approximate 200 koalas while he was doing that study. And a lot of the roadkill that I have been able to pinpoint and collected the bodies is coming down from that colony, down across the Pacific Highway, across the M1 and down across the Hunter Expressway and George Booth Road and down into the Minmi, Seahampton and Link Road. They kind of trickle down into that area as well. And all of those have had negative chlamydia results.
What does that mean in terms of healthy koala populations?
In Australia, chlamydia is a massive killer for our koalas. The disease is awful. It mottles their insides basically and causes horrible eye infections and is really a death sentence for them. So the fact that they're testing negative means our genetic pool here is clear of disease. So for the survival of koalas as a species, that's a really important find and even more reason why we need to be protecting our local koala colony.
And so all that data that's being collected by the vets, is that helping with the survey efforts of identifying koalas out in these areas?
It helps with our rehabilitation because chlamydia is contagious. So if we're getting koalas coming in and rescued from areas that we know have chlamydia,
sure,
then we're reluctant. And once we take them into care and treat them and they return chlamydia negative, we're reluctant to put them back into that area.
Okay.
But then we're very careful about where they're released. And then koalas from those areas that are clean that come in, and if they can't be released due to some injury to the eyes or that, they can go into a breeding program. Port Macquarie and Devil's Ark run a breeding program for koalas, so they can really only take koalas that are negative, completely negative, totally negative of chlamydia and retrovirus and all the other viruses that seem to be appearing now in koalas.
So you're collecting data, so you're not just carers and rescuers, you're citizen scientists, you're helping the vets, you're helping the government identify these clean colonies and working with researchers at the university to help them better understand where they are. And Debbie, with your rehabilitation, is there opportunities for you to work with some trial projects to do with chlamydia, vaccinations, anything like that?
I'm hoping the vaccinations will. I know they did release a vaccination last year, but apparently wasn't successful. But I have heard that they are having some success now with a new vaccine. So hopefully it's something that we can look at, that especially for those really clean areas, to protect those koalas from having chlamydia introduced.
Where does it come from? How do they contract chlamydia?
It started from way back when white settlers were around. Apparently it was from livestock, pigs and sheep. So, yeah, it's like the mange with wombats. It was introduced during white settlement, so unfortunately.
It's not chlamydia when you think of human chlamydia.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's different, but it's still as contagious. So they can spread it through breeding and even mum to young can contract it. Yeah, that's why it's really important we try and keep this colony clean of that. But the other hard thing with vaccines is how we go about doing that.
How do you capture the koala? Yeah.
Huge task.
Yeah, it's a really huge task, and we're working even just testing a lot of the results I've got from that area from deceased animals. But if we've got a huge colony, so I've been working with Ryan from the uni, but also Mallory Visness and her koala dog. We have been in talks, and she's going to try and train her koala detection dog to be able to smell chlamydia or non-chlamydia in the scat of koalas.
Wow.
So that's a project we're working on, and I've been collecting a lot of koala poo for her. But things like that, and we don't want to stress the animals out more than they need to, but we also need the data and we want to protect them. So we're trying to find that middle ground of how can we tell that they're safe to do this. I know Sydney Wise around Campbelltown did a trial with chlamydia vaccines. But we have different gene pools as well of koalas. So
Is it getting harder to find release sites?
I would say the hardest thing is koalas are very territorial. So we need to release them back to where they came from. And I guess especially the Minmi koala that I rescued last year, his area had mostly been wiped out. He did need care as well. But what do we do when their home has been destroyed? Because if we relocate them, they're going into someone else's territory and they're going to have to fight for that territory. So it's really tricky. And that's where we do have to work a bit with national parks and really consider where we release them.
And it's their diet as well.
Yeah, their diet.
For some koala, they're tree specific from the areas that they come from. So if I get a koala in care that comes from the upper hunter, I have to make sure that I can replicate that feed and try and find that feed or introduce a new feed source that is a koala feed. So it depends the area they come from. You have to try and get them back into that area where they're used to that type of tree, and that can prove quite difficult.
They're very picky koalas. They don't eat any eucalypt. They've got a very specific short list of eucalypts they like. And I guess in those developments too, I think sometimes people think, oh, there were some trees left there for the wildlife, but that doesn't mean that it's edible.
And different times of the year, the trees are toxic.
So they identify a feed tree.
Yeah. Different times of year. In drought, the trees are toxic. They go into a toxic phase where they protect themselves. So I've been especially up around the Buckety Yango area, the trees up there in the drought became toxic and the koalas were starving. So it's an unusual situation, but it does happen. So then they'll move on and try and find, in a range, they'll try and find trees that are not toxic, or they'll start to eat trees or brush that they're not quite used to.
Yeah. There's so much knowledge and skill required in caring for these animals. What is something that local communities could do in the Hunter to help them?
I would say planting natives is always a good start for all our native animals. Even the possums and the birds love our native flowers. So a big thing is, planting as many natives in your garden as possible.
Creating corridors so that they can move.
Yeah, corridors
are quite important.
Obviously, housing is going to be built. People need places to live. I live in a house, so I can't shame people for wanting to live in a house, but it's how we build those areas and developments and leaving good, thick corridors that animals can pass through safely, again, that connect bushland to one another is really important as well.
This colony at Mount Sugarloaf, it was described as a secret colony that's just been discovered. But there is a lot of housing development pressure coming in now around that area, around the base of it. Do you believe we can coexist with koalas?
I think we can. I think in the koala movie, I'm not sure if anyone's seen that, they had a great example of a development up in, I think it was Queensland, where they made these beautiful, big, thick corridors throughout the area. And also, as they knew there was a big koala colony there, animals like domestic animals weren't allowed in that section. So the koalas were able to roam safely throughout those streets and throughout those corridors amongst the houses, which, I mean, how special would that be if you were able to come out and see a koala in your backyard, but that it's safe for them as well. So I think it's possible. I think it's all in money and cost.
Port Stephens has quite a lot of koalas living around, and I know Lemon Tree Passage, it was quite easy to walk around, see a koala in a small tea tree. So they do live in suburbia, but the only thing was the animals that end up in backyards, so it would come across dogs, so there'd be dog attacks. So as much as it was lovely to see them around and frequent the small trees, there was sort of a downside to it as well. But I'm sure with, people being conscious of dogs and animals around, we could certainly do something to make it work.
But the proposed sites around Minmi where they've cleared, or along Link Road where they had proposed the housing development going in there, it was really just obliterating that whole bushland. Unfortunately, their plans as far as I could tell, even if they had left corridors, it was a row of spindly trees. It wasn't sufficient for animals to safely get through. And it was also the amount of animals we lose just in the clearing process.
Oh, gosh. Your work
Yeah.
is so important. For people listening and they're inspired by your stories, what can they do to get involved with Hunter Wildlife Rescue?
Sure. Well, as much as we might have scared you off, we always do need more volunteers. But there's so many other things. If you're thinking, oh, that sounds too stressful for me, caring and seeing sick animals is a bit overwhelming. There's so many other things you can do to help. You can become a financial member. You can sometimes
fundraising's always.
Yeah, fundraising, making, knitting little pouches and possum homes and helping sew pouches or kangaroo hanging pouches.
Transporting animals for us.
Transporting animals, just being the person who picks an animal up from the vet and brings it to us. There's so many different ways you can help if you're not wanting to do the rescue, but I also think it is such a rewarding job. As hard as it is, I do love it. I really do. And I've made amazing friends. It can be really hard, but the amount of happy stories I could share as well of success stories makes it all worth it.
Well, we've loved hearing your stories, and it goes so much further than just rescuing these animals. Your dedication to the science, your contributions to the research, and all the data from all of the rescues and all the sightings and all the reportings that you get, it's all loaded up into the database of New South Wales. So you're actually contributing to policy making. Your data's being used for decision makers. And we need that, don't we? I mean, if they don't know the koalas and the animals and the gliders and things are there, then these developments can go ahead without those due considerations. So I just love what you're doing. It's talking to you today. I think it's really helped all of us realize just how much difference, one person's care can make, not just for an individual animal, but for all of our wildlife. So on behalf of our listeners and everybody out there that's enjoying our wildlife, I just want to thank you. Thank you for the work that you do, and you're absolutely amazing, the pair of you.
Oh, and thank you. Yeah, thanks for your help as well. Yeah, and support.
Well, let's get this story out. Hey, I think people need to hear this. There's so much more to being a rescuer and a carer than I ever knew. So
people say that you're only saving just one animal. What difference could it make? But you're making a difference to that one animal, and that's the main thing. Is what we do is look what we got in front of us.
Yeah. And most of these animals you're talking about are now listed.
Yes.
They're now endangered.
Exactly.
So if we don't care for them, they'll disappear.
It is really scary, and especially the koalas. I mean, we're told that they're set to be extinct by 2050, and that is so incredibly close. I'm actually pregnant at the moment.
Congratulations.
And thank you. But my baby's due in February, and when I think about that, that means he would be in his mid to early 20s when koalas could be completely extinct
from the wild.
And I just don't accept that.
Good. Neither do I.
So, I think the community, they have been such a huge help and support behind us too, of rallying behind. So it's not just us doing the work too, but when the community rallies behind and bands together to help an animal, makes a phone call, sends an email to the local council or government, goes to a rally. I know they're doing a Link Road rally in October.
Makes those submissions against EISs.
Yeah, making submissions, all that.
Large lines going through our state forests. Yeah, I stopped there.
Yeah. All of that that's help as well.
Yeah.
And we really need your voice and the listener's voice to help us with that.
We need to send the message. We're watching, we care.
Yeah.
And we want our animals protected.
We do.
Thank you again. Thank you for your time. And please look after yourselves.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a busy time of year for you. And hopefully you'll get a lot more volunteers and a lot more help and plenty of donations to supplement the costs. So
that would be wonderful.
Yeah. All the best. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.